welcome back to the shop again this week, you guys. We are going to get this Howard Hill style bow strung up this week, and this guy is a beast. So watch along. We're going to get her here. So getting the plastic off of this is going to prove to be a challenge, but it looks to me as like we got a really good glue joint. I'm thinking that the ramps ran up really well here. I'm not seeing any major gapping anywhere. And then along the length of the limbs here, I kind of feel like I might have gotten just a little bit. I mean, the bamboo is definitely wider than the core lamb here, so I don't have any issues with the core sticking out anywhere. And this looks like an awfully dark spot that could be a gap, but it could also be burning on the bamboo. So we'll get all the plastic off and get this thing ground down. Got this thing all ground down and cleaned up. Appears to be in pretty good alignment. Got some good setback to it. Those nodes are pretty prominent, so we'll of course grind those down as well. It is on the narrow side already, with the tip being about the width of my thumb to start. The glue ups seem to go pretty well. And I see no issues. The only thing that really, I guess, is disappointing to me, or disappointed me, is that my riser like shifted in here during the glue up, and so I took a lot off of this one edge here, but it's struggling to get down to the wood on this side, and we're already pretty thin, or narrow rather. And then I got the same scenario going on over here where I got a nice clean all wood joint, you know, or all wood surface over here, where it's going to take me a little work to get past the glue, you know, and we're going to lose width to do it. Well, let's really get a good look at that glue joint. I mean, it really, there's no gap in there. So very, very pleased with how that came out. And you know, the limbs as well, no issues in the lamination at all. I have, of course, taken this thing and floor tillered it a tad. I mean, I haven't tillered it any. I've just tested its bend on the floor like a floor tiller. And when I mentioned that I was overbuilding this at the beginning so that I would have a little extra, you know, room to narrow this bow and hit a lighter weight, yeah, it is quite stout, guys. Well, I've got a long tillering string here set up on the bow. Have not done any reduction other than to take down the nodes on both the back and the belly. And that's just an inevitable step anyway, so I like to take them down just to get a little cleaner view of the bend on those limbs. They're bending pretty well. I mean, in terms of the arc of the bend, they seem to be bending pretty nice. The bottom limb feels like he's got a little bit of a stiff spot right out at the tip, which is really no big deal at all. Not that I'll work that out. It just seems to retain just a little bit of its setback where the top limb seems to like come straight, you know. Lower limb should be a little bit stiffer than the top limb, and it may be that I'm a little bit thinner here than I am up there. But in any event, something that we can work through as we move along the way here. Really just looking to get this bow to string height at this point, because it is so heavy, so doggone heavy. It was a little bit of a workout to get that little bit of bend into the bow itself. So I'm going to narrow it out a little bit. Not that we have a whole lot of width to work with, but I'm going to narrow it some and see if I can take some of that weight off and then continue moving forward. All right, guys, here, maybe you can see, yeah, you can see the pencil lines right there that I'll be taking off on either side of the limbs. And that would be to try and relieve some weight. So we'll start by taking just a little bit off, all the way down on both sides. Alright guys, so I'm running into a little bit of a problem. You can see my bow here hanging with a pretty loose tillering string, so it's not strung, and we are hanging at about 8 inches, and when I pull to just 16 here, which is 8 more inches, oh my gosh, I'm pulling about 50 pounds. That is a bit of a problem for me, since we're at the very start of reduction. I knew that I overbuilt this bow, but not quite to that degree. So we are way too thick, and I don't have a lot to work with in terms of width on this bow. I'm already at about 1 1/8 inches wide, and it's a little over 1/2 inch thick at the thickest parts of those limbs. So I think what I'm going to do is basically trap the belly here to remove some of that compression wood, and see if I can't land myself in a little lighter draw range. All right, this is a little bit of a fast forward from where we were, guys, and I apologize because I just got to work on it and really made some good progress here. So we are strung to about, you know, almost regular string height here. And this bow has done some really crazy things because it is so narrow. And yet it's in perfect, I mean, it's perfectly aligned right now. All right, here's the trick. These limbs were like bending off in the wrong direction, like horribly off the handle. Like the string was tracking completely off the side here. Now I did a little bit of removal on the belly lambs here to try and encourage that bend to come back. But the fact of the matter is that really all I had to do was manipulate the string off to the one, it's off to the one side, and just horse the limbs back into shape, and they complied. They came right back. Now, not right back, but with a little bit of removal, just a minor amount of removal on the belly side, and then just really pushing them in the direction that I needed them to go. This is how it ended up. So, incredibly malleable as it turns out at this point. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, I'm teaching it to bend right now. That's the whole point here, is we are teaching this bow to bend. And in its current state, it's bending really well. So, this is where we're at right now. I am showing just a hair of positive tiller on this top limb, and actually I'm like allowing it to sweat out right now. So it's just been strung and sitting here for, at this point, maybe 10 minutes. And I am at just under 6 1/4 on the bottom limb, and I am just over 6 1/4 on the top limb. So we're dealing with, you know, maybe 1/8 of an inch positive tiller on that top limb. And when you're dealing with a bow this long, you could stand to have more than that. But I have, and I'm not sure if you can make it out on the belly here, but removed material on the edges, just like faceted tillering process. You can kind of tell when you look at the end here that it's got a distinct crown, or even a ridge for that matter, on the belly side of that tip. And so that's kind of the profile that I ran on these limbs to try and run down the weight just a little bit. Now, this bow in its current state is pulling to about, I want to say it's 50 pounds at like between 20 and 22 inches. A lot of weight yet to lose. So I think really the moral of the story here is I'm making like an elephant hunter here. This thing's going to end up very heavy because I'm not going to continue to take material off of the belly to try and come into compliance in terms of draw weight. I'm just going to tiller this to draw length and only make adjustments to tiller from there. And whatever draw weight we end up at, that's just going to be it, because as it stands, I mean, I am incredibly narrow. Let's see if I can't just prop this against my hip and get a measurement here. This is my grip area right here. So at my grip, I'm sorry, it's probably hard for you guys to read with all the glare and stuff. I'm less than 1 1/8 inches wide. And at one point when I was trying to maneuver the string over, because it was so far off of alignment, it actually swung around and strung itself backwards. And I was fearing for its safety at that point. I thought it was just going to crack and break, but it has not done that. And as a matter of fact, has really kind of come into come into compliance with in terms of alignment and in terms of tiller. So I'm going to let this finish out its resting period. But guys, that is going to be the extent of this installment. We have got it to string height. From here, it's just going to be tillering it out. So thanks for joining me this week, guys. And I will see you next week when we bring this bow to its finishing stages.